So thank you for being with us to this inspirational, I think, for everybody session. Talking about diversity, we have a really diverse number of speakers and with very good background. So we have international leading organization, we have leading investor, and we have practitioners from Asia and Europe. So you could hear different perspectives to the innovation, not only in terms of new products, in new technology solutions, but also in delivery models. And I really hope that we are going to talk about successful approaches, of successful products, but I hope that you are going to share with the audience also things that didn't work as expected. Because this is really important for us, having in mind that innovation is also a little bit scaring for some of us. So I would like to start, not to lose much time. Please, could we have the first question on Slido for the audience? I encourage you to put your questions, and we are going to go back to them after short presentation at the end of the session. So my first question to you is, what do you think is the biggest challenge that MFIs face in reaching new and diverse clients? So please pick two answers that you think that are more relevant. And let's see. Okay. So while you are voting, I would like to introduce our first speakers, not to lose our times. So we have Lisa Guzman, who has more than 15 years of experience contributing in building an inclusive world. Very good. So she is the Vice President, Customer Strategy and Women's Economic Empowerment Lead at Action Advisory. She's responsible for the communication with different service providers, platforms, fintech companies. So she has very broad insight into the topic. Let's see the results of Slido, and after that to you, Lisa. So the biggest challenge according to our audience, is the limited clients' financial and digital literacy. Interesting. Okay, also regulatory restrictions. Maybe the problem that we could not take deposits and so on. But however, Lisa, to you, because limited clients' financial and digital literacy is really, for me, surprising answer, because innovation is developing very fast in emerging markets that you're operating. So in your work, Action uses the concept of client-centric design and behavioral framework. So how this framework can be used by microfinance institutions to not only design inclusive products, but also ensure their effectively reach. Please, could we have the presentation of Action? Thank you very much. And here is the clicker.
Okay. Thanks. Just so many technology. Good morning, almost afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you, Martina and MFC, for the invitation. We, Action, are very glad to be part of the network and being able to share our experience and potentially, obviously, our support to all of you. So maybe for those who don't know who Action is a global NGO working on financial inclusion for the last 60 plus years. We work in investment with different ticket size of investment, from venture to more mature investments in financial institutions, fintech, and digital platform. We also provide advisory services for our investees, but also with other institutions that are willing and want to grow and increase their impact. And we also do research. We have our think tank called the Center for Financial Inclusion, And so from there, we do a lot of research and thought leadership. So I'm very glad to be here. Maybe just to get into your question and all, also, or maybe before getting into the question, and you sure how to, there you go. Just to let you know that we at Acción are very happy also to be able to be working already very actively in the region, especially in Central Asia. I'm very quickly sharing with you that thanks to the support from the Center for Inclusive Growth of MasterCard, we are already working in a project in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, working with different stakeholders, trying to build a ecosystem approach model to combine the power of financing for impact, bringing digitalization in data and being able to use data to know and make our customers more visible, and also trying to incorporate capacity building in the approach precisely. And going back to the answer that you all gave, we also recognize how important it is, obviously, to build the capacities of our clients. So this is an approach we are making in these two countries, but hopefully we hope to be doing way more. And happy to talk about this more after the session, if you want. So you asked about the our behavior approach, customer-centric approach, and I think this is not obviously new to any of those of you working with the client, but in general, right, in financial inclusion. So one of the things that we have very clear for every project that we start is that we really need to start with the client. We really need to start with the customer. Even if it is a technology project, even if it is just a governance project, risk scoring, or whatever the nature of the project is, we, based on our experience, understand and know that it's key to start with the client. So this is what you're seeing in the screen is just an example of a very high level summary of one of the research that we do. So when we say that we are customer centric, what we mean is that not only we go and understand the statistics, or we use only like surveys to understand the client, but we really go deep and with obviously focus groups and all that, but we have a behavioral approach. And we think that especially in this digital world and how fast we are advancing, it is critical to understand more nuances about our client, right? So it's not only about what do they think about banks or microfinance institutions, but also how do they use their time? Who do they trust? What are they fearing? What are they dreaming of? What are their main responsibilities? What is their top of mind at 8 p.m., at 6 a.m.? And all of this information is really key, especially when we talk about digital adoption. So in our experience, what we have seen in many organizations that we're working with is that there can be a lot of investments, like important investments on digital transformation, digital solutions, etc. But many times, these investments are a waste because they didn't understand what their customers were wanting to do, how do they behave, how they approach digital technology. Especially if you talk about minorities, and this is the case for this panel, right? When we say minorities, and in my expertise, I'm talking mainly about women. We also need to understand that for women, for example, there are other characteristics that we need to take into account. So beyond what we already know about our micro, small business owners, which is lack of trust, perhaps, or like how difficult it is to approach an institution, how difficult they find the process to access a credit. For women in particular, we also need to understand how busy they are, regardless even of the income level, but how busy they are. How the social norms sometimes really undermine their capacity to and their confidence to actually go and ask for a credit, for example. So it's not about making sure that our product is okay, is serving a need, not only making sure that our product is clear and well communicated, it's also making sure that the credit officer is taking into account what is the social norm in the field. And so how he or she speak to her, how to approach her, at what time of the day, etc., etc. So that's really, really important. And the reason why maybe Martin is asking this is because we do believe that being this very important in our work, we are very proud to tell you that we have been using this framework in several of our projects around the globe. And maybe here I'm going to share very quickly 3 of them. And again, like we can talk about those later in the day if you want. So first, starting with our partner Annapurna, they are a financial institution in India, serving mainly rural women in India. And so they really wanted to make this quick step towards digitalization, right? So we support them on really transform their operating model, leveraging opportunities for women, especially for digital lending and payments. And so we started, as I was saying, we started the process by really not like, what is your tech stack? We started like, who's your customer? You know, what kind of connectivity she has? Does she have the right to access to a phone? At what time of the day? What about the kids? Et cetera, et cetera. So, so we did this approach, and we were happy with the results. As you can see in the slide, we started the project with Annapurna serving only 10,000 clients with the digital solutions, and we ended the project with a great result of more than 900,000 women using the digital solutions that Annapurna developed. Likewise, we also did the same approach in terms of like customer centricity with Banco Sol. Banco Sol is the leading microfinance institution in Bolivia. They have been in the market forever. They were the first commercial bank serving small clients, small micro and small clients in Bolivia. And so what we did with them, again, starting with the client and also they were going through this digital transformation. We developed with them a gamified approach to savings, right? So the problem there was we already have this, like we already have an account, we have a digital channel. What is happening? They're not using the channel, they're not using the account. How to make this work? So with this gamified approach, we did it. Why? Because we understood that in the culture, this, like betting and competing was a social thing. And so we kind of leverage our solution on top of that habit that was already there. And so the product was a success as well. And last example that we have here is this program that we developed with the support of the Hilton Foundation. And so this is a program that we did in Ethiopia to support refugee women to find new income generation activities. So we work with a number of stakeholders, from government, obviously, to refugee camps, etc., to try to make sure that the women refugees become last mile resellers of fast-moving goods of the Unilever network. And so, as you can imagine, this obviously implied, for us to really know, like, where were their capacities in terms of actually, like, just running a small business, having access to credit, managing their inventory, feeling confident about using technology, etc. So same thing what we did with this, like building this network, building their capacities, building the technology for them to be able to manage the inventory and sell it. And also with that, being able to start to build their visibility with data so they can later on access to a credit. So I think I won't expand more on this, but again, like happy to tell you more and start this conversation. These are some examples of the kind of things that we do to serve this population. Thank you, Martina.
Thank you, Lisa. So, although there is a lack of time, lack of trust in digital channels by small business owners, obviously this is the path, right? Because these users are more and more. But also, I would like to mention that you have a new project in Asia, which is interesting for the audience. Maybe to to share just a couple of sentences about this because it's interesting for the audience.
Sure. So as I was saying at the beginning, we are working in this project is supported by the Center for Inclusive Growth of MasterCard. We are trying to put together an ecosystem approach model in both Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan with different characteristics. To be able to, what we want to do is try to facilitate a cooperation between or various financial institutions or fintech institutions, digital platforms with other data company providers, which can be of different types, for them to be able to cooperate in making sure that data is used in an insightful way to know more their customers, to try to expedite the processes, to try to incorporate new data in their risk scoring or other kind of assessment that they do. And with that cooperation, also to make sure that in whatever the journey results out of this, we incorporate a capacity building approach along the journey to make sure that we are also bringing the customer in the process and making sure that there is going or trying to making sure that there is adoption and usage of such solution for them.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So let's move straight forward to our second speaker. We have Gan Huyak Chulun, who has really rich biography. He started his career at the Mongolian Stock Exchange in 1991, then going to the central bank and so on, launching the first MFI. Okay, Gan.
Can you
now
slide up?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So please.
Yeah. Thank you. It's an honor to be here again, and we are a mission-driven organization. We've been focused on building the investor nation, and these are some of the results. We built the ecosystem which our clients can access. We have 1.6 million people in a country of 3.5 million people, so that is the reach that we are having right now. We don't have branches. We have a super app which people can download, self-enroll, do the KYC, do the all the necessary regulatory steps for them to access our services. So as you can see, we do lending, we do insurance, we do savings, we do allow our clients to invest in company stocks. We have 12 different listed companies inside our group, and we walk the talk. We say we want to build the investor nation, and we want people. ART stands for people. We want people to be our owners. And about 13 years ago, when I was starting this company, I said, I'm tired of working for big institutions, basically, EBRD, IFC, all the nice private equity funds out of Switzerland and Holland. And I said, why can't I work for my people? So if you guys trust me, put $10 into the company, and I will show you how it's done, and you can make all the profits that were made by our friends from Europe and America before. And so this is what we have achieved so far. And many funders here will criticize us, saying, okay, you don't measure impact, you don't know what's happening to your clients, but I know that I have 110,000 shareholders in a country like Mongolia. Mongolian GDP has grown from $300 20 years ago to $6,000. So we are taking over some of the Eastern European countries. Of course, it's on the back of mining industry, but I think the story of Mongolia, and the story of the growth in Mongolia can inspire people here in this room, and maybe some of the lessons can be learned also from what we have done. We are client-centric, and all the companies here we acquired in the course of last 11 years. The percentages indicate how much we own in each company directly and indirectly. 12 of the companies are listed, and then we have the infrastructure. We have media group, we have stock exchange, we have the postal services, we have crypto investment company, we have IT company, and we have payments platforms. And I think I take a special pride in telling people that I enabled my compatriots to own these companies, yeah, and do business with us. We have introduced a crypto coin. It's a kind of a loyalty coin. It's like a frequent flyer miles, and it's called Artcoin. We built an ecosystem, and with the help of Artcoins, we were able to reach the 1.5 million people who, because we saw a deficiency in loyalty point schemes that are being used globally. This is more transparent. It's on the blockchain. You can see how it works. The more people use Artcoin, the higher is the price for Artcoins. The higher is the price, the more people will come and get our services from us. And our companies are required to budget purchase of Artcoins. So there's limited number, and we cannot not honor them if somebody comes back to us. And then we also invested into a social media platform, and we integrated our wallet into the social media. So the MongolNet basically is a social media, social commerce platform. People can interact, send messages, buy things, transfer money immediately inside the ecosystem, etc. And it's integrated into our wallet. So last year I spoke about the metaverse, which was a failure, but I wouldn't call it a failure. I think some of the things that we're doing probably came too early. We're like 10 years or 20 years ahead of our time, and people are talking about the digital adoption, the education of the clients, etc. I think it will come, yeah, because our kids are playing inside the metaverse, and once they grow up, I think they will be able to go and interact with people, do business, provide training, consulting inside the metaverse. And I think we just invested a bit too early, so I wouldn't call it a failure. And you asked me to highlight what kind of failures we have. The only failure we have is that we are probably a bit ahead of our time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For the lack of time, please, I brought a teaser. I think the MFC management is deciding to welcome you next year in Mongolia. I have 2 bottles of this, 1 gold and 1 platinum. And tonight we have a gala dinner. Please look for me or my colleagues to have a taste of Mongolia, and then, be teased to come next year to Mongolia, which is usually the largest conference on the MFC agenda, happens once in 20 years. Please.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. So really impressive. It's amazing how microfinance could be so upgraded that at one point it's like a financial group, and you are entering in the metaverse. So I don't know where I am. So, but let's move. Maybe I really like your approach of democratization of profits, of democratization of access to profit to all people. So this is really financial inclusion, right?
Yeah, as I said, we want to build the investor nation. I think if the ultimate goal of microfinance is to, we always say we want to get rid of poverty. And I say, why we're saying it from this side? Why can't we say we want to make people rich? Yeah? We want to build a rich country. And that means that, we want people to save, to invest, to own assets. And if we're talking about democratizing of various assets, I will not shy of new technologies. Blockchain enabled me now to tokenize prime property on the main square, and people can invest into 1 centimeter tokens of the prime property. My former bank, the bank that I founded, Hasbank, rents that space. So I allowed the investors in those tokens for 1 centimeter of the prime real estate to earn money from the bank in the form of rental payments every month, which is airdropped into their accounts every month. So be it land, we are talking about building smart cities. Somebody was talking about Habitat for Humanity was talking about affordable housing. We are past that. We want people to live in smart cities. Yeah, we want to help them access smart cities. We want to learn from the experiences of the humanity to build cities, and we can build new cities for our kids to live in an eco-friendly, but also human-friendly cities. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Really inspiring. It's always to listen to you. Let's move to Europe now, and we'll get back to the world later. So let's move to Andrea Bratu, who is an investment manager in EIF Inclusive Finance team. So she's responsible for the implementation of microfinance and social entrepreneurship programs with over 20 years of experience already. So Andrea, having really in mind the unique position of EIF by supporting microfinance institutions and inclusive finance providers in general for so many years, what are your observations on the market, new trends, something that has inspired you maybe lately? So please elaborate a little bit on this topic with your presentation, of course.
Thank you, Martina. And thank you for the invitation. While hearing to our speakers and the earlier session and yesterday, your comment on digitalization, that it's for certainly the path, I have to, we all have to agree. And I think that can happen organically. We don't need to rush into it. Although microfinance sector has responded quite impressively to adapt to the digitalization. But on the innovation side, I'm not even sure we need to innovate. There's so many like inspiring approaches, interesting business models. I'm wondering if we shouldn't have more sessions like this where we just sit down and share the experience and we don't need to reinvent the wheel, maybe just, not steal, but, like inspire from each other. So from that point of view, thank you. It's very inspiring to be here. As a representative of EIF, I'm in the observing position. We rely on our conclusions on data that is reported by our partners. So there is always like a small lag and a lot of effort from our partners, for which I really want to thank you, because with the occasion of this conference, I have digged into the data, and I'm very interested. I want to share with you what we've noticed. I'm going to tackle just 3-4 topics that I find they have an innovation point of view, and I will start with the EIF's financial instruments. As you know, we have guarantee programs, we have a lending product, but what I do find it's maybe interesting for the market is the capacity building instrument, because for once, it doesn't focus on portfolio creation, final recipient support, because that can only be achieved if the MFIs are strong. And it's hard to be strong, like they always have to juggle priorities, resources. So instruments that focus on supporting their organizational development, expansion, and especially enhancing their indebtedness capacity, I find that unique. I find that it's impressive, the demand of the market, and I think it's a strong signal for us that we need to look more into how to support not just the final recipient, that is very inspiring and for sure takes us to work every morning, but also the microfinance institutions, because most of them have been on the market for 20, 30, 40 years. That's so impressive. But there's also very new players because there is a market demand. How do we make sure that they stay on the market for long so they can learn about the customers and support them? So this was maybe more on the EIF, let's say, instruments. Then, with this instrument, we had the occasion to look at the variety of partners that have appeared in the last few years. 5-10 years ago, it was, I would say, 45%, 40% banks, 60% MFIs. Now we have 61% alternative lenders. These are the institutions, the statistics are from the players that have applied for the capacity building instrument. So naturally, it's more newer players that need more support. They also have very innovative or interesting business models, and they tackle niched segments. I just want to highlight these numbers, 61% alternative lenders. I didn't know because, you just get on with transactions, with day-to-day business. Fintechs, what I would like to maybe ask to the audience, or I would like to learn more, is about how are these alternative lenders supported by the regulatory environment. Because at EIF, we started with MFIs, we went with banks, credit unions, fintechs. We found ways to support them. I'm curious how much the regulatory environment is supporting them right now, or how much is it still a burden in outreaching the micro segment. Another area that we've seen a lot of innovation and beauty, to be honest, is the business development services delivery, which I don't know if you are aware, it's a mandatory part of accessing the EIF's financial instruments, because the small micro entrepreneur has a much bigger chance to succeed if supported along the way. I will not get too much into these details. I would just like to highlight that this is a very hard job for MFIs because it requires resources, it requires juggling priorities, it requires failure sometimes. And on the part of the micro entrepreneur, they don't even have the time, or sometimes they wonder, what do I need actually? So this is a good... I don't know. It's just such an important part of the business model. I would like to give you some examples that I have found very inspiring. At Patria Bank has started offering workshops for farmers, and some of them were saying that they were participating in these workshops while being on their tractors and doing their business. And this is so great. Like 5 years ago, we couldn't have imagined that. And in the meantime, microfinance institutions have developed the program, have implemented, have scaled it, which is very impressive. FedInvest from Albania, they are tackling a network, tackling a mentoring network based on successful female entrepreneurs. How is that? Yeah, it wouldn't have crossed my mind that something like that could actually work. And it's quite empowering, because I feel like a lot of micro entrepreneurs maybe have the knowledge, but maybe don't have the confidence, and that's where the mentorship really can help. And Microbank from Spain have went through such an accurate, painful for sure, process of researching what do their customers need, and they have put in so much effort to develop a whole academy of online courses where the customer, depending on their stages of development, they are in the startup phase, they are in the boosting, growing phase, or they are in the consolidation phase. And depending on that, they can just go online and choose trainings that are fit for the stage of their activity. So these are just a few examples. And then I will just move quickly to the next one, which I can't make it big enough to show you the numbers that are very interesting. I'm not going to insist on the numbers, just on one, but how do we get to these numbers are the innovation ways, the innovative approaches, but the numbers are important because they show that micro-entrepreneur, that is the missing entrepreneur from all our statistics, it's finally represented here. It comes with a lot of effort that in EIF has been a request to report for 10 years, even more. That cannot be easy, on social indicators. And then we finally can see the characteristics of the micro-entrepreneurs. For example, 61% of just in the last 2 years under InvestEU program have never applied for a loan. 65% are at their first loan. That means that 4% have tried and been rejected, and 61% have not even dared to go to the traditional banking sector. This is something, and then this segment, we can know what is their education, what they are females, males representative, their age. This is all very relevant information to increase the visibility of the sector. I cannot stress enough how much visibility is important. I think we all know that microfinance has been having impact, but showing what is the impact, measuring and giving visibility, I think could help develop the sector and reach even more customers. And how did MFIs manage MFIs? Financial institutions managed to reach these impressive vulnerable segments niched. One has been through better management systems. Last 3-4 years have seen most MFIs going through deep transformations in how they report, on how they collect data in an efficient way as possible. They have launched dedicated products, whether it is for startup, for youth, and I think that also comes from knowing this level of details about their customers, you know, how many are between under 30 years old, like collecting that information have allowed them to go to dedicated products. And that always has to come with the niched financial education, because a startup and a young person will be approached differently. And the fourth one is the digitalization that today sounds standard, but connecting to APIs and having more fluid lending processes has been a lot of work. On the shelf or internally customized, that have allowed the MFIs to really boost their efficiency and focus on other things more important, like understanding their customer better. And I'm very curious. I'm very curious if you have other. I would like more to listen from the audience rather than my observations, let's say.
Thank you very much, Andrea. What we see is that 61% of the partners of EIF at the moment are actually alternative players, which could be seen as a treat for MFIs, but also an incentive maybe to get more digital. So let's see what the future in Europe would bring. Let's move fast to Florian Ott, who is a member of Erste Group Social Finance Holding, and he's supporting social organizations, starting entrepreneurs, and marginalized clients. So from the Erste Group perspective, please show us what kind of innovative products you have introduced recently, and what is your perception about how they are perceived by the clients. Thank you.
Thank you, Martina, and thanks also to MFC for the invite. I know I've not a last presentation before lunch, so I tried to speed up. Just a few words about Erste Group and where we are. So we are a traditional banking group operating in Central and Eastern Europe with 7 core markets. Overall, we have a bit more than 300 billion in total assets, more than 45,000 employees, and we are having in this region roughly about 16 million clients that we are covering, which is interesting, roughly the same number of people at the risk of poverty and marginalization in the same region. And if I would describe what we are doing in social banking is we try to support and cover clients and segments that no one else wants in the bank. So we are more or less taking the leftovers and try to find some solutions to address them, ideally with the intention that at a certain point we can show these client segments are indeed interesting from a impact, but also from a financial perspective to hand it over. Because usually there are a lot of client segments, and I think all of you know it here quite well, which are perceived as too risky, too much work, too little profitability to treat them and support them. And I think this is where we are coming in. And overall, we had it in a previous panel discussion, there was probably not talking about microfinance, but mostly about financial inclusion. And if I would also call what we are doing, it's mostly financial inclusion of certain client segments. I stated them very briefly here. So starting from starting enterprises, which surprisingly, when I've started in a bank, I was surprised that starting enterprises are not financed by banks mostly, but only by the famous 3Fs, family, friends, and fools. That's where we are coming in. Same with micro businesses. A lot of micro businesses are also perceived risky, so they are probably being a bit left outside. One segment that we are overall covering in our region is also social organizations. So this on one hand social enterprises, but also traditional NGO clients, non-profits and so on. And the fourth segment, which I would like to focus today a bit stronger, is people which are personally private individuals that are financially excluded, marginalized groups, risk of poverty clients, and so on. And for all of these client segments, we try to reuse what we already have in the bank as loan instruments in particular, but also account services and so on, in combination with non-financial support like capacity building in order to aim for certain impacts. This is a bit of target segments, and I think we try to address like different aspects, like also it was stated today, health topics are important, education are important, but I would like today to focus a bit on one specific aspect, and this is the area of housing, which fits together to the presentation before on Habitat for Humanity, because we see affordable and social housing as a very probably not so sexy topic, but a very essential topic, as it is really the first step for really generating a step forward towards reaching prosperity. And I think it fits good to say probably not only helping people out of poverty, but more helping them to reach prosperity. And what we see there are different dimensions. On one hand, we have this two dimensions more like ownership, which is very much the case here in Central and Eastern Europe, where there's a high ownership ratio. In Western Europe, there's a more established rental market. And I think it's important to think about these components. And on the other hand, also you think about like individual housing solutions, individual rental, individual construction, but also how to really increase the overall stock of housings. And we have multiple programs on all these dimensions. These things in orange are probably in particular interesting from colleagues from the public side, because there we see there are always some barriers and always some limitations. And I think this is the interesting and challenging thing at the same time, how we can really match and manage these certain obstacles for these different dimensions. And I would like to really particularly focus on the aspect on the left-hand side, this housing microloans, which I think are quite an interesting showcase. I want to be also spoiling it a little. It's probably the most challenging one. So finding solutions for other parts is easier than for this one, but I think it's a nice showcase of what are the problems are. in general, when we try to develop solutions, for us, it's always important starting with identifying the challenges, the problems. Interestingly, today there were also in this pool as one of the highest challenges being identified financial literacy. So financial education is definitely something we see for all of these segments, all of the activities as a very important thing. I was surprised also that the regulatory topic was rated that high. I thought that's more a Europeans only problem, but probably it's a challenge around the globe, and it can be a chance, but also a challenge. And from identifying the problems, we always try to combine the multiple steps for a solution and really say, okay, educational elements are usually an important thing, but also financial solutions. And I want to go with this one example. As you see in this picture, this is actually taken in Slovakia, where you have a quite big and still growing number of Roma communities, and some of them are really living in severe environments. So as you see a bit in the background, this is real life there. The houses or huts are not really having a decent water sanitation installation, not sufficient place to sleep. So families sometimes have to sleep in shifts. And of course, this is triggering really then the social problem also for the next generation. And my colleagues there have really also over a longer time developed a program in order to help here with microloans to help these communities building a decent house with microloans. And the interesting thing, it goes really in a stepwise process. So we are starting with education, financial education there. Before we can really give them any loan, we must really prove that there's a repayment capacity. Most of these people don't have a regular income. So solving this problem was really solved in way that we started first with a saving program. So these families have to show that every month they can save like 50 euros. And after 1 year, they really have proven that they have sufficient capacity to pay back. And with these savings, we can then in the next step really help them to give them a loan. We also help them further with a job assistance and so on. But most of all, with this loan, together with local NGO partners, we help them to construct in the house. When I'm saying we, not we as a bank, we have luckily people who are better in construction and can help them brick by brick, building their own house between like 12 to 24 months, and then really having a possibility to improve their own living circumstances. And the nice thing, what we have seen also the direct social impact of this program is that the families, which are mostly like don't have a regular income, a lot of these families or the parents found a regular job. The education situation has improved. The kids are better in school because they're having a more decent living environment and so on. And I think it's a nice example where you can see you have to really go step by step. We are really depending on partners. I want to also be clear, this program couldn't be started without our own funding from our biggest shareholder, the Erste Foundation, which was on one hand providing the initial funding for the NGO partners for the capacity building, but also providing a guarantee instrument that we can protect a part of the risk in providing this loan. But after having the showcase, we can then also could be successfully approaching the Commission colleagues, and they were also further funding this program, which we in the second phase could even scale then to multiple countries and more joining in. So I don't want to show you this as a scaring off because I know it's a bit of a complex process, but I think at the same time you can see a huge social impact. And if I would think about what to recommend, first of all, really thinking about good partnerships, thinking about what are available fundings, because I know the initial funding step is always a challenge, but then I think it's definitely possible to set up something newly. Good. I hope I was almost in time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I really like this what you tell about partnerships. This is needed. I could observe it in everywhere actually, but because we have just like 5 minutes more. So we have the second slide of questions just for the audience to get ready for lunch, to motivate them to participate. And I would like to open the floor to anybody from the audience that would like to ask question to our speakers if you have something to ask. So our question is, where do you see the greatest potential for innovation in financial inclusion to address the needs of underserved communities? So again, pick two answers from your perspective. So we have, okay, because here we could not see all the answers, the potential answers. So for our speakers, the options are enhancing financial and digital literacy of clients, obviously, moving to serve new client segments like social enterprises, migrants, youth entrepreneurs, introducing maybe innovative financial products, building partnership, providing more and diverse complementary business development services, introducing innovative financial products that are combining loans, grants, technical assistance, and enhancing digitalization in delivery models. So if anybody of you could briefly just comment these results and how he or she is seeing the greatest potential from your perspective. So please. Lisa.
Well, very quickly. No, I think I totally agree. And now comparing, the different realities in the different regions that we work in, what we see is like those models that are really about building partnerships are the ones that are successful. And so, I mean, I totally see this, like those organizations that tend to just like reinvent themselves only from inside and staying inside are the ones that are slow, I would say. So definitely that's something. I'm more inclined for the private sector kind of approach, like fintech, working with financial services providers, and trying to make that. And obviously, if there are other stakeholders, that's better. But I mean, totally, that's one thing. And then second, on the financial part, digital literacy and all that, I think that's it's a challenge, and sometimes it feels like not a very business oriented topic, but is really key. And maybe not to be controversial here, but I'm curious to know maybe what you said that. So like people talk about digital literacy, but like our kids are going to learn, and at some point we're gonna get there. Agree, right? And I totally agree. But so what do we do with those that are still 40 years old, poor, and still have another 30 years to go? And so, what's the approach? I think that's where we need to also innovate, right? To make sure that they are also that they are part of this evolution. Right, so yeah, that's all I wanted to comment. So yeah, to you.
Yeah, if I may add some thoughts, because I really like this first three bullet points, like partnership. I think we mentioned enhancing this financial and digital literacy topic, and yeah, also blended finance in a wider sense. And I think all of these three topics are good. The question is how to make it simple. And I think that's creating a partnership is, we all know, not an easy thing. And here we should really think probably step by step to make it easy. And give you a very simple, concrete example. Every partnership usually starts with some sort of agreement. I think nowadays there's this one NDA, for instance, which I really like, that there's not spending so much time on even discussing a stupid NDA, but really start working faster. Or financial literacy, you mentioned the metaverse. We are working at the moment on a financial literacy solution actually in the metaverse, yeah. Oh, okay. We have a financial life park and financial life museum actually, and there we be having a program in development. So I think it's not about the technology, more about really what you would like to achieve, and for certain things it fits, for others it doesn't, and sometimes you just have to try.
No.
Yeah, I think, again, I've been doing this since 1997, and again, it's been a long time, yeah? I mean, I was a very young professional, and now I'm nearly retired. And it's very sad that for a region like Eastern Europe, Central Europe, and Central Asia, you know, we're talking about a very small region, quite well-educated people, and we're still talking about, you know, the financial inclusion. I think we need to talk about competitiveness. What kind of value add we are providing to our clients, how cheap and efficient our own loan delivery systems are, you know, because look at Bosnia, look at Caucasus, look at all the other countries. We're talking about competition for clients. So I mean, it's kind of self-contradictory that we have those underserved people, and then we have all these people here showing how, you know, fighting for all the funding in the room, and showing how we are doing this for 25 years and still didn't manage to reach all the clients that we wanted to reach. So I think we need to be more ambitious, and we need to talk about, you know, I think there's this saying, do not follow the puck, yeah, but go where the puck is going. And that's when you say, okay, there is this opportunities that technology is offering, and that's where we need to be headed, yeah, to anticipate where the market trends will be. And we need to talk about, again, the efficiency in delivery, competitiveness of our services. And when we talk about competitiveness, we need to remember what kind of impact we promise to have on our clients. And if that is to have a client who is rich in the end, yeah, we should not be ashamed to show it off and say, okay, this is the success story, this guy became a millionaire. But it's not fair to push all these loans on these people and say, okay, this person deserves a loan, but he cannot get the loan. How do we know that this person deserves a loan? Not everybody wants to be a businessman in the end, right? And these are the realities that we need to talk about also here.
Thank you again.
Just very shortly, I think, and maybe on a light finish, to me the first two questions are totally correlated, and they make me feel like I Google something, you know, there's everything out there. I have one objective, to reach the micro-entrepreneurs. The micro-entrepreneur has the objective of staying on the market, being successful, feeding their family. I need skills. How do I get them? I don't need to learn everything. I don't need to know everything. I just need to find those partners that help me achieve those, my strategy, my mission, whether it's NGOs, government agencies. There's all out there right now. We just need to start talking to each other more. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrea.